theme music for the podcast. We don't actually have any theme music, so someone will probably make one up for us. I don't want to name any. Rachel. I hope it's Rachel that does that for the podcast.
What was it that the man on Reddit said?
It depends. We've had a lot. We've had a lot of refuge. If we're being very negative, I think one of the comments we got was "you fucking fucks."
That's true.
Another one was, "Man, these guys can ramble."
Yeah.
Which I've put on my business card.
Yes.
And then
You have business cards?
yeah,
For the podcast?
yeah,
Why don't I have any?
they're on the way.
Yay!
I think "you fucking fucks" was our crowning.
I think one guy said I made it as far as the theme music and then gave up. And theme music was in inverted commas. So we don't want him.
Oh, that was Chris.
Was it your friend?
No. He was like, I made it as far as the theme music, and then I gave we'll try and listen again later. And I was like, I took it very personally. But he's very Chris. If you're listening, I've told you this to your face. You're very Tom Cruisey. He's very like, I'm gonna listen to the podcast. You guys are good. You got a real nice energy.
He married to Katie Holmes.
He didn't. He had a brief fling with her in the spring of '98.
Oh. How old was Katie Holmes then? Sounds illegal. Let's move on.
Sorry, Chris. I look, just go on the run.
Yeah.
Get in touch when you can.
Yeah. Welcome back to the tiny room. I'm Mick in the tiny room. There's Ben over there.
Hell yeah.
We haven't really settled on a format for that introduction yet. Ben.
Yes.
We have had a tweet.
How unusual.
Yes, but this one is real.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is from... This name actually makes more sense when you read it out. Polka.Sundays. Polka dot.
Yeah.
Because the dot... Because you say dot.
Yeah, it's a verbal gag.
It's a word play. Anyway, Polka.Sundays has said, "Hey, handsomers."
Oh.
That's obviously us.
Oh. Well, it couldn't be anybody else on the podcast.
No, there's no one else.
There's only two of us.
Yeah. Well, there was John.
Oh, Johnny's very handsome.
Yeah, and
So
Clive. Yeah.
He's got a handsome voice.
We're probably the least handsome two people who've been on this podcast.
Shit.
Anyway, Polka.Sundays, which gets funnier the more you say it, has said, "Hey, handsomers, that was very interesting what you said about Punisher last week. Talk about more times when comic books have been appropriated by other communities."
I like this person.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very intellectual person.
A very intelligent person.
Very intelligent.
Yes. So, I suppose we'll do that then.
Yeah, I guess. If Twitter says...
Yeah, we can't ignore Twitter.
It's pretty much our... What was the name of that awful mannequin in Big?
Tom Hanks?
Switches.
Take that, Tom Hanks. You smushy-faced everyman.
That's amazing. Yeah, well, anyway, if Twitter says it, we do it.
Yeah.
We're awful easy like that. Yeah, fair enough.
Should we start with Punisher?
Well, let's.
So, right, we talked about Punisher last week.
We did.
Specifically, what Polka.Sundays means is how Punisher has been adopted. The Punisher logo, more so than Punisher himself, has been adopted by the American military.
Yes, rather heavily.
Yeah, but there's something even cooler. And, I mean, cool is the wrong word. It's a bit ridiculous. I don't know.
Even more interesting.
It's quite interesting, but, well, that's up to you to decide if you find it interesting. So, this year, because we're all about recent stuff on the podcast.
We are. We're recent people.
Well, no, hold on. Let's approach this a different way. Ben, have you ever heard of police brutality?
The 80s ska band?
Very good. No, the idea of the police beating people up.
Oh.
Or
usually based on some kind of discriminatory factor like race, sex.
Yeah, usually about being black.
Ethnic background, yeah.
So, look, sometimes...
You just went for it.
Yeah, look, I am of the following three things: black, American, and a policeman. I am none of them. So I kind of see myself a little bit as a neutral.
Are you not black?
I am neither black nor a policeman.
I've been going around telling everyone that I have a black friend.
Jesus Christ, Ben. I mean, that's not great, is it?
No, it's terrible.
Yeah, we'll cut that out.
It's terrible. No, we won't.
It's staying in.
No, we won't.
So, look, we, the Americans, they have a problem. The societal problem. I'm not picking sides, but
So diplomatic.
there is a social organisation called Black Lives Matter,
Yes.
and they protest police brutality against black people.
Fair enough.
And the police, some of the police, not all of the police, but some of the police, they form a counter, I suppose an organisation, but more like an idea, an ideology.
I don't like where this is going.
Well, it's fine. Blue Lives Matter. And it's an organisation. Basically, their stated aim of Blue Lives Matter is to get violent crime against the police acknowledged, but classified as a hate crime.
Yeah, this sounds very like a men's rights activist group.
Well, look, Ben, this isn't a political podcast, so I don't care about your opinion on Blue Lives Matter.
Fair enough. Oh, that's how we're going to play it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to start a Ben Lives Matter. More
You can do that. You can do that if you want.
Ben's opinions count for something on the podcast because this was supposed to be a partnership and it doesn't feel like a partnership right now.
Yeah. Look,
Sorry, Blue Lives.
I'm trying to avoid giving my personal opinions on either of these lives.
You're doing very well.
Yeah, it's a thing that exists.
You're the most sanitized Mick I've ever come across.
I know. No, look, I genuinely don't really have an opinion on this because I am neither American nor black nor a policeman. So
Nor am I.
Yeah, and policemen in Ireland don't kill people.
That we know of.
That I don't think anyone has ever been killed by a policeman in Ireland.
They definitely will be raided by the police now.
Yeah, and also we don't have a history of slavery, or considering
We did play a part in it
yeah.
across the sea, but we don't have we never really had a severely established slave trade here in Ireland. No.
Yeah, and more importantly, I don't think I'm not trying to wash our hands morally. It's just we had
I know.
we had a cheap, poor workforce readily available, and
We are cheap and
there
poor.
was no need for importing a large workforce.
We needed
Anyway,
a drink. The English had very little money, and that was fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really have an opinion. I don't.
Yeah, well, you're not invested.
Yeah, I'm not invested in it. I don't think.
This does not affect your social structure.
As we've said before, Ben, I don't think anyone should kill each other. Just
You
as a
are a
rule.
big fan of not killing other
Yeah,
people.
just everyone stop killing each
It's
other.
actually something I aspire to.
to kill someone.
I messed up last week.
Uh-oh.
I killed another person.
Oh.
But I really want to be a non-killer,
Oh.
like you, Mick.
Are you the famous Leinster Triangle serial murderer?
That's me, yeah.
I thought it was Larry Murphy.
That's me.
What are we talking about? This is so rambly, and we're only like 6 minutes in. So, Blue Lives Matter. It's a thing. It's about policemen. So, back on point. Punisher.
Not a policeman.
Earlier this year... No, he's not a policeman, Ben. Well spotted.
Sorry, I just thought... that was
Earlier
the
this
name.
year, in your favourite state of America, Kentucky...
West Virginia.
No, Kentucky's not in West Virginia.
It definitely is.
No, it isn't. They're different states. But,
Why is that? Okay,
I think
we'll get to
we'll
that.
get to
We'll
it.
get to that.
Anyway, in Kentucky,
My favourite state.
your favourite state,
Next to West Virginia.
yeah, a police force of a town, I can't remember the name, something like Charlottesburg.
Charlottesville.
I think it's Berg.
I think you'll find it's Bill.
What they did was, this is mad. I can't believe they did this.
This ties into what I'm... sorry, keep going.
Gee, don't step on my bit.
Sorry.
They decided they wanted to represent Blue Lives Matter, the Blue Lives Matter movement,
I see.
on their patrol cars.
Oh.
So what they did was they had a little competition, a little vote among themselves, and they chose a logo to paint, to decal or decal
Yeah.
onto their police cruisers.
Oh, God.
And they chose the Punisher's skull. They chose the Punisher's skull, but it's the Punisher's skull as an American flag,
Oh, fuck.
but it's in black and white, but one of the stripes on the American flag is a blue stripe.
Oh, Jesus.
And then the words, Blue Lives Matter.
Oh,
Now, look, Ben.
that's in poor taste.
Yeah, I mean, it's a... From my understanding of the situation, it's enough of a statement anyway to put Blue Lives Matter stuff on police cars.
Okay.
But what they've done, Ben, is they've gone and they've put the symbol of a vigilante who specifically exists outside the law on police cars. Ben, suboptimal thinking.
That's That's not what you want from your police force, is it?
Exactly, because the whole point of the Punisher is that he kills criminals who the police... He kills criminals, Ben!
That's his sole purpose.
He kills people!
He's really difficult to write because he's unremitting in how he murders
Yeah,
people.
like, that's his whole thing. He goes, he finds the criminals, and he kills them to death.
So they don't, it's no penal system. I read a Punisher comic today, and in my line of work, criminals don't usually have the luxury of the penal system by the time I catch them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a great little box.
Where's his Jew, what's it called?
Castellan...
No, Jew procedure. What's it called?
Due process.
Due process. Where's his due process? Where's his trial by jury? Where's his trial by jury?
It's not there. I thought you were saying due process. I was like,
oh yeah, let's bring more racism in, Ben.
I am the racist podcast host.
Apparently, it turns out.
You should see my car. I have a big Punisher logo that's in
A big giant Punisher logo that says Ben Lives Matter.
Funny thing is, I can't even drive. I bought a car specifically so I can put that on.
Nice. So, I mean,
it's fucking terrible. Hang on, I'm adjusting to this. Seriously, a police force in Charlottesville, Kentucky.
I don't think it's Charlottesville, but you're purposely ignoring what I've actually said.
Charlottesburg.
Or Krolitzburg or something like that.
Okay, somewhere in Kentucky.
West Virginia.
Regardless of where precisely, there are a group of men who have been elected.
Men and women.
There is a group which has been elected.
You don't elect policemen.
Which have been tasked with keeping law in a small town.
I think it's a medium town. I mean, 8 police cruisers. So I think that's a...
Is that medium?
I think that... What do I know? But I think so.
I would have said.
But here's the thing, right? Okay. So they have this...
Wow.
Quite frankly...
Frank Castle?
Yes. It's a pun. I've done a pun. They have this very colourblind choice of thing to put on a... Colourblind.
Tone deaf, colourblind, outright racist.
So the thing was, people then said, look, that means that's a symbol of a man who kills people. He's a vigilante. He's everything that the police aren't.
Yes.
Can I have a chewing gum there?
You can.
All right, let's see if this affects the quality of the podcast.
I know you will. The sound, maybe like ASMR.
Nom, 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 nom.
Look, there's some crinkly.
So there were complaints. And the man who... They ran it by the mayor of the town. They ran it by the chief of police of the town. Everyone said, yeah, that's great. Yes. What? Stick a skull on your police cars.
Did they run it by the black people of the town?
I think one of the problems might be there aren't any black people in this town who could say...
Just a bunch of white people who are like, that's fucking cool.
Have you ever seen Micheal and Webb?
Yes, I quite like the sketch show.
Micheal and Webb, they're very amusing. They're amusing sketchmen. They do a very good sketch set in World War II, where I don't think they specifically state it, but Micheal is a new recruit in the SS.
Yeah. Brilliant.
And he's looking at his uniform and all the skulls and crossbones and lightning bolts, and he says to his friend, "Do you ever think? I mean, we have the skulls. Do you think we might be the bad guys?" And I mean that you really don't want your police
to be carrying that around,
cruising around the place with skull logos on their cars.
I wouldn't like. I guess some of the logic was, well, the military uses it.
Well,
but death squads in the military use it.
Exactly.
It's just...
So this was the thing, right? So they the man who proposed the design was interviewed. This is Leader 1, by the way. He's a GoBot.
Mick, for some reason, has begun to adopt a brand new figurine.
They're not figurines, they're action figures.
A brand new toy.
That'll do.
For every podcast. And today's toy is...
Leader 1. He's the leader of the GoBots.
I thought the GoBots were a knockoff of the Transformers, and I found out today that they are the predecessor.
Yeah, they predate the Transformers. Although, I mean, they predate the Transformers by so little that it's impossible to say one influenced the other.
Who was the stealing dickhead?
Yeah, they both kind of just materialize. Like A Shark's Tale and Finding Dory. Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo, yes.
Or like A Bug's Life and
Ants with Woody Allen.
Yeah, or like Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Oh, wow.
Or
Two
like...
incredibly similar movies that I think are actually the same movie with slight changes.
Yeah, or like Dante's Peak and Inferno.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm on a roll.
You're good at these rambly comparisons.
Or no, that's it. Can I do another one before I commit to an and like? And like... No, that's it.
That's it. We're out.
What were we saying? What was I talking about before that?
The creator of this, or the proposer of this particular redesign.
So the proposer of the redesign... Thanks, Ben. The proposer of this design had seen the symbol in the movie American Sniper.
Yeah, because this brought it to
with Bradley Cooper.
Prominence.
Yeah. And apparently it was in the movie American Sniper with Bradley Cooper because Chris Kyle, is that his name? The original American Sniper was an actual Punisher fan.
Oh.
So the guy who saw it and decided to put it on the police cars
was not aware of the...
his excuse was he thought it was a warrior symbol.
A warrior? It's a big fuck off, Scott. Hang on, fuck off. It's a big...
All right, Ben.
It's not... Like, that's just... It's a bit thick. It's a big... feck off skull.
It's a big skull.
It's not a nice skull.
No.
It's not an anatomically correct skull. It's a big, leering,
mean,
elongated, edgy skull.
I know. Jerry Conway, is that his name?
The creator
of Punisher.
Yes.
He's kind of... He doesn't really know where he stands on the whole thing.
Well, it is, for lack of a minefield of a...
Right, I know, because his thing was... original Punisher was a kind of Vietnam War era character. Yeah. And American troops, when they came back from the Vietnam War, were kind of hated.
Yeah, it was a strange thing.
The American public...
They were committing war crimes.
Oh, Jesus, Ben. It's like a politics podcast.
No. No, sorry. I mistake.
As far as the public were concerned, is that what you're saying?
As far as very far left-wing public were concerned, it was all a war crime.
Fucking hippies. Hippies is what you mean.
War is a huge moral grey area. I do not weigh in black or white on either side.
Ben,
it's a big old
black and white into it.
You're the one who's talking about Blue Lives Matter.
So, anyway... so his whole thing was Punisher is a bad guy because he was created at a time when the public feeling towards the military were about bad guys, and then it sways backwards and forwards all the time depending on how the public feel about what America's...
Does he call him a litmus test for the American public and the military?
Ooh! Like you've obviously read some interviews this week.
I did. I was very interested this week. I was invested.
So yeah, that's it. Punisher, Blue Lives Matter. Bad choice.
Bad, yes, that's a good example of a very negative kind of adoption of that. It's weird how people read into stuff like that. I was looking at stuff this weekend, and one of the things that popped up was Harry Potter and the LGBT community, and there's a very large faction of people who use his coming out of the closet underneath the Dursley stairs as symbol for his burgeoning homosexuality.
Oh, that would explain a lot.
Yeah.
Except how he had kids with
like
Ginny Weasley.
There's like t-shirts where it's like Harry Potter could only survive 11 years under the stairs before he became out fabulously magical. Stuff like that. Like,
that's great!
I know, I'll stick it in the video.
Oh, I want that t-shirt.
It's hilarious. But it's interesting how people kind of read into stuff like that. But speaking of tone-deaf things that cause outrage for silly reasons...
Wait, are you saying that the Blue Lives Matter is silly?
No. You fucker.
West Virginia... Mountain Mama.
Don't sing that song either. That's your.
Go on.
We're just coasting down a road.
Go on.
Country road.
Racist country road.
Aren't they all? Oh.
Yeah. Careful. Do your bit, Ben. Stop race baiting. We talk about racism a lot on this podcast.
It's because of the filthy racism.
Comic books, TV, and racism.
There's a lot of racism in comic books. To be fair. Yeah, sorry. What I was going to say to you was Superman. Give me 3 words you associate with Superman.
Clark.
Yeah.
Kent.
Yeah.
Blue.
Give me another 3.
Right. Lois. Jimmy. kryptonite.
Okay, if you were a layman who knew nothing about comic books and the extended cast and mythology of Superman, give me 3 words you'd associate with Superman.
God. Red, white, and blue.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, is that it?
Those are the 3 I was looking for.
I'm glad we got there.
Oh, he's the all-American superhero. Truth, justice, and the American way, you know?
Oh, would that have done?
Yeah. Well, that would have been fine. It didn't really matter as long as I got American nationalism and patriotism in the mix. So, Superman is kind of very, very interesting. He's all-American.
That's your opinion.
Sorry, he's a very dull concept and very hard to write, apparently, because he's just perfect. He is kind of a perfect all-American superhero. He's from the Midwest, which is never represented in movies or comics, which I find quite funny. He grew up in Kent, which is in the Midwest. Surely he'd have
his name is Kent. He grew up in Kansas.
Sorry, he grew up in Kansas, but you'd think he'd have a little bit more of a Midwestern accent.
What would that sound like?
I really like saving the world, Erie.
No, that's Canadian.
No, but it's really close to Midwestern.
Is it? Is Midwest...
Wisconsin.
Is Kansas beside Wisconsin?
No, it's not, but it's in the Midwest. It's a whole region stuff. Anyway, I find it interesting. I thought he'd be very southern, but he's never represented that way in...
Is Kansas in the south?
I think it's further south than...
West Virginia? Is it close to West Virginia?
Is it West Virginia?
No, look, we clearly don't know.
It's not near the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's the Shenandoah River.
Did you know that... I don't know if you watch our YouTube analytics, but
I don't.
The USA has overtaken Ireland as our watch time leader.
In that case, lads, USA.
Yeah.
The USA.
Both.
You're not going to like what I have to say next.
Both blue and black lives matter.
All the lives matter.
Oh, you can't say that. That's political.
Why is that political?
Just do it.
Jesus
Do your bit.
Christ.
Do your bit and shut up.
Okay, so Superman, a couple of years ago, bit of a public outrage a couple of years ago.
Go on.
Superman renounced his American citizenship. Do you remember this?
I do.
There's a vague recollection of it. It was very quickly glossed over.
Didn't he walk around? He walked around America meeting people?
Yeah. And then renounced his American citizenship. So, in a kind of interesting way, in certain demographics, adopting certain superheroes, Superman has become very much an immigrant symbol, because he is fundamentally an immigrant to the planet Earth. He comes from Krypton, and so is an immigrant by his very existence. And he kind of became adapted as that in several ways. Rather interestingly,
go on.
I have it here on my phone. Hang on.
Something's phone.
Oh, no, it's disappeared.
Welcome
Podcast gold.
Welcome to the Ben reading things from his phone podcast.
So, Action Comics 987, which was published 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, as of the time of recording.
As of the time of recording, which is October 1st. 2017. Superman intervenes when a white supremacist opens fire on a group of illegal, undocumented workers.
Oh, that's what's going on in America at the moment.
Yes.
Well, maybe not specifically that.
And Superman intervenes.
Right.
And Superman intervenes and saves all their lives. And
is he a Ku Klux Klan guy?
He's just quite a biker. He looks like a biker.
Just a hillbilly.
Look, there you go. You can see him there. This is
classic American bandana.
He's wearing an American flag bandana, not unlike the American flag Punisher skull symbol.
He looks a bit like the Undertaker.
He does a bit like an out of work, overweight Undertaker. I think it's Greg Capullo that draws this one, and he stops the bullets. He shields them from the bullets. He runs over to the man. He breaks his gun. He holds him and says, "Why?" He's doing his best Batman impression. It's not working.
Why?
And the guy says, "They stole from me." We find out that they didn't steal from him at all.
They stole his job.
So they took our
his jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Which is just ridiculous. So, this is fairly bog standard for Superman.
Bog fucking standard.
For Superman.
I'm so bored with Superman, I'm going to stop listening.
Innocent lives, that's fine. Innocent lives are at stake.
Innocent lives matter.
He steps in.
Yeah.
And he saves them.
Gives them no dig out.
How do you think Fox reacted to it?
Fox News.
Or Fox. Foxes in general, the animal. How do you think they reacted to it?
They can't read.
They're huge Superman fans, though.
Yeah, I can't read though. It has to be read to them.
I think 62% of Superman comics go to Fox sanctuaries around America.
That's not true.
It is. It's right here.
Fox News.
Yeah, how do you think they react?
Well, they probably said that he created a straw man to attack.
Yeah, exactly. He's well, they call Superman now a propaganda tool for defenders of illegal aliens.
Oh, good.
That was their response. Breitbart. How do you think they responded?
I don't care.
Fair enough. They called him social justice soups.
Good.
What
Yes.
they've branded him as. Yeah. So it's caused.
Social justice soup sounds like it would be delicious.
Yeah, it would have a lot of different cultures mixed in.
Yeah.
I'd take. Do you drink soup? Do you eat soup?
Ben, that is a question too big for this podcast.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but I just found it very interesting that people can have such a strong reaction to a character.
So do those people then feel that Superman would be better off helping to get the illegal immigrants out of America?
I think that's the message that news network thinks, or perhaps better suited to just saving white people.
You should probably put news network in inverted commas when you're saying
That's just
Fox.
Oh, you said I'm the political one.
I'm not being political.
Steady on.
I haven't mentioned anything about my political beliefs, but Fox News is a lot of shit.
Yeah, Fox News is a lot of shit. Like, you've said enough there. But it's rather interesting. The character was actually introduced as that. There's a cartoon here that I think is quite interesting.
Go on.
It's from the 1950s.
Oh, that's very
when
old.
Superman was used in schools and
Hold
education systems.
If it's from the 1950s, we're going to have to talk like this.
Yes, so if you take a look at the cartoon, it says... No, that's not American, that's English 1950s.
No,
so we'll go...
That is the Midwestern accent.
Is
that's,
it?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
it is?
the accent. That is an invented accent that was invented to kind of bridge the gap between American and British.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's a real famous accent.
Well, anyway.
So we can do it.
It's a picture.
It's a
of
picture
Superman.
of Superman.
You're going to translate, good. And he's standing with a group of children of various ethnicities and backgrounds. He has his hand on a little Asian boy at his side, patting him on the head. I'm not kidding. It's right there. I'll put it in the thing. There's a young black man in the back. There's a lot of white people. And there's one kid with America's favourite pastime, a baseball bat and a baseball. So it's all American. It's very good. And it says, and remember, boys and girls, your school, like your country, is made up of Americans of many different races, religions, and national origins. So, if you hear anybody talk about schoolmates or anyone else because of their religion, race, or national origin, don't wait. Tell him that kind of talk is un-American.
Yeah, and then suck 'em one.
And sock him one. That doesn't sound very like the rhetoric we have these days in America. But very interesting, because from his early days it would seem that he was quite an avid fan of
the old immigrants.
the old immigration. So I thought that was very interesting. Anyway, that was my first one for today's round off. Superman.
Well, come here,
Alien.
then. Actually, what we're going to talk about next kind of really ties into that. What a segue.
Swoosh.
Have you ever heard of the 90s?
I was born at the very start. So yes.
Look, Ben, you know the comic book and film V for Vendetta.
Yes.
Written by Alan Moore. Noted madman.
Noted madman. Who's retiring from comics?
Is he? He's going to just do satanic rituals.
I think so.
And beards growing.
He's Norfolk's favourite Satanist.
I thought that was Warren Ellis.
I think Warren Ellis and Alan Moore are the same person. I think
sort of time travel thing.
Yeah, it's a time travel thing. I think the house time travels and they're in different parts at different times. But anyway,
I think I've seen one of them interviewing the other, so that's I suppose they could never mind.
time travel, timey-wimey.
So Alan Moore, noted madman, and David Lloyd. Well, it has two L's, so Lloyd. David Lloyd. So they wrote the comic book V for Vendetta.
Yes.
I think it was in the late 80s, wasn't it?
It was.
And it was a response to Thatcherism.
Good.
So a lot of British comic book writers in the 80s was a very punk kind of scene.
Yes, it was.
You had your 2000 ADs,
which is what I will be talking about after this.
You had your V's for Vendettas, and Alan Moore wrote V for Vendetta as a tale of anarchy versus
totalitarianism,
fascism. actually.
Oh.
In the comic, which you might not have read recently,
I have not.
And in terms of overall plot, the comic book and the movie are almost identical.
Really?
Almost identical.
That's nice.
But the theme is very different.
Oh.
Because the theme of the comic is, like I said, anarchy versus fascism.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the theme of the movie is kind of freedom and democracy versus extreme conservatism.
Uh-huh.
The movie came out during the reign, which is probably the wrong word, of George Bush. And the Wachowski...
Reign of Terror is the comic.
the Wachowskis and stuff, they kind of admitted that they updated it, I'm doing air quotes, they updated it to make it relevant to...
Is that the Wachowskis?
They didn't direct it, they produced it.
That would explain why it's good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a great film.
Yeah, it's a great film.
So they updated it to make it more relevant to modern America, which Alan Moore hated. But, you know Alan Moore. Alan Moore's going to hate anything.
He hates anything that people touch that belongs to him.
So, the main character, V...
Yes.
He wears a... Go on.
The enhanced... What is he?
Well, this is the thing.
He's an experiment.
He was experimented
on.
on.
Monster.
Yeah. He was one of the lower classes and he was experimented on.
Yes.
We never see his face or anything, so we don't know what type of lower class he was. But, I mean, the comic book is very much about racial purity and stuff because they're full-on fascists. The movie is like religious purity, but there's nothing about race.
It skips over the race stuff.
Yeah. As movies so often do. It did that as well. The new It. Have you seen the new It?
I haven't seen it. I've seen the old It.
The new It completely removes any racism overtones.
What's the racism of the book?
The book?
I've never read the book. I ask.
In the book, Henry Bowers, the chief bully,
yes, really,
really, really hates Mike, the black kid.
Oh,
for pure full-on racism.
Okay.
Like, there's a lot of slurs, Benjamin.
Thrown around like
a lot of slurs.
Stephen King, you just make me uncomfortable.
Well, Stephen King hates racism.
Well, that's good.
Like he hates.
That's good. I've nothing to say against that.
Yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah. So V, he was an experiment, and in the comic book, he's going to take down the government because he wants to create anarchy.
Fair.
And he'll kill anyone or anything who gets in his way to do that because he's a genuine, real, 100% anarchist. In the movie, he's much more your traditional superhero.
He's got a code.
He's got a code. He tries to avoid hurting the innocent.
Oh, really? So he doesn't do that in the comics? I haven't read the comics recently at all.
It's comics are very dark because he's a full-on. He's not a good guy in the comics. He just wants anarchy,
and he'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah, not unlike the Joker.
Okay,
you know what I mean. He could be considered an anti-hero, which we probably could have covered last week.
Shit.
So, yeah, Alan Moore hates the movie, but probably the most iconic thing is the mask.
Yes,
he wears a Guy Fawkes mask.
Guy Fawkes mask. Remember
the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. I see no reason.
Murder gunpowder. Is it not the
gunpowder treason and plot? I see no reason for the gunpowder treason to ever be forgot.
Ah, okay. You have it better.
I know. So anyway, the mask. He wears the mask.
Yeah,
Guy Fawkes. Look, we're not going to. How are we doing for time? Not going to explain who Guy Fawkes is.
Sure. Why would we?
Why would we? But he wears the Guy Fawkes mask, and the iconic scene in the movie, but not the book, is he asks. Was it in the book? I can't remember. He asks the people to rise up with him.
Mm-hmm.
And to all wear his mask to a march on Parliament.
Yes.
And they do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That mask was then produced as a movie prop for Halloween.
Which is a fair...
It's normal.
Yeah, fair choice.
And then the internet group Anonymous wanted...
Who are they?
They're anonymous. They wanted to protest the Church of Scientology.
Fair.
And the Church of Scientology are kind of notorious. I wonder will the Church of Scientology get onto us for mentioning
them. Oh, we'll definitely get... Oh, yes.
Anyway.
If the Scientologists want to sponsor the podcast, please don't.
No, they can.
Can they?
Yeah. You can be sponsored by something and not believe it.
If the Catholic Church wants to sponsor...
Oh!
Well, if we're condemning organised religion, let's just go whole hog.
So the whatchamacallums, Anonymous, wanted to protest the Church of Scientology, and in doing so remain anonymous.
Fair.
So they recommended, because the Church of Scientology are kind of famous for taking photographs of protesters.
Oh, are they?
And then using it to smear you.
What a pack of dicks.
I know, they're real bad eggs, those lads.
Yeah, yeah.
So they decided to wear masks.
Fair.
And many of them wore the Guy Fawkes mask.
Yes.
There was an even earlier incident where a group of anarchists and a group of liberals both marched in a protest against the anarchists were marching in a protest against the movie because they felt it didn't represent anarchism well, and the liberals were marching in a protest as a counter-protest to the anarchists, and they were all wearing the mask.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Dopes. Anyway, so as you know,
I always found it funny when anarchists organise.
I know, it's brilliant. So after 2008, but anarchy doesn't mean you can't organise. Anarchy just means that governments have no control over people.
Yeah, Noam Chomsky's anarchy.
You could still have
intellectual anarchy.
Yeah, you can still. It's not anarchy like giant A's printed on the wall and everyone killing each other like the Purge. Episode.
So last week was pointless.
Yeah.
Oh, God damn it.
What were we saying? Yes. So after 2008, it became more and more popular. Anonymous, the internet group, took it. In this case, as opposed to in the Punisher case, David Lloyd,
the artiste.
Yeah, he's delighted. He loves it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he thinks it's great that he takes a lot of credit. I don't know if Alan Moore would necessarily give him a lot of credit, but he takes a lot of the credit for the creation of the character of V.
I feel that Alan Moore rarely gives credit to other people.
Yeah. Sorry, cough. Good podcast. He was the one who came up with the idea of him wearing a Guy Fawkes mask.
That's quite a significant part of that
character.
character.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the great thing, though. Because that specific design of the mask is owned by Warner Brothers, that means that every time an anonymous person or a protester or a Occupy Wall Street or
any kind of left-wing social movement adopts the mask,
they're paying royalties to massive international conglomerate Warner Brothers. What a delicious irony!
Not if you base your life on left-wing protests.
Well, it's not that bad either, because it's kind of taking a symbol of the establishment to fight against the establishment.
Subverting that symbol.
The cool thing about the mask is it's banned in a lot of countries. It's illegal.
Really?
It's illegal in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain. A lot of people in the Arab Spring wore it.
So now it's
illegal.
Illegal.
It's illegal in all the countries that didn't want an Arab Spring to happen. Bahrain, Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
Qatar.
Okay, interesting.
Do you have another one?
Yes. It comes right off the back of your one, though. 2000 AD.
Yeah.
I was watching a really interesting interview with
2000 ads. Like a fucking YouTube video.
Or a shitty Russian porn website. Is that off colour?
Oh, it's just the second time you've talked about Russian porn websites today.
Not on the podcast. It was actually in direct reference to the previous conversation that we were having.
Yeah.
It's more of an in-joke for you and I as opposed to the
people.
listeners.
Yeah, people love.
Well, they think I'm a pervert now. How are you, lads? Yeah. So anyway, 2000 ads.
Yeah.
Phil Mills is the name of the man that created 2000 AD, or who had.
Say that again.
Phil Mills?
Yeah, is the man who created
2000 AD?
Yeah, sometimes. Now, I don't mean. I don't want to give you a complex.
Sure.
But sometimes when you're saying. This is probably a better off-air conversation. Sometimes when you're saying 2000 AD, you put an extra syllable in. And I noticed it.
2000.
So it's 2000 AD. But when you're excited, you say 2000 AD. And I noticed it when I was listening to the last podcast that we did where we talked about 2000 AD. And I completely forgot it, and now I just remembered.
Okay, 2000.
Just call it 2000 ads.
2000 ads.
Because Ben's famous thing is he can't.
Because I have a speech impediment apparently when I'm excited. Phil Mills, I was watching a really interesting interview with him, and he said that there are no more working class superheroes. And
Batman.
I found this very interesting. Is the least prime example.
Tony
of that.
Stark.
Again, just missing the mark there, Mick.
Danny Rand.
Oh boy.
The Black Panther.
Ooh.
The Inhumans. Oh, I watched the Inhumans again.
And?
There are new scenes.
They've tinkered.
No, I don't think so. I think they were just cut for time. There's one shitty one about the scientist who was operating the moon thing.
Oh yeah.
And she's convinced that there are people living on the moon.
It's a subplot.
Yeah. And
Subplot.
then there's a bit more of Maximus. We meet the Genetic Council.
Oh.
And him threatening Crystal. Oh! And spoilers! Maximus's parents had Crystal's parents killed. Which means that Black Bolt's parents had Medusa's parents killed.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
That's
anyway,
a weird
sorry,
thing to
what were you
sleep
saying?
next to in a bed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. He basically said that working class superheroes were in decline.
Were there ever working class superheroes?
I mean, I think. I suppose. Yeah. No, not really. Well, I mean, I guess there's so many. Like Daredevil is a working class. Initially, he's from a working class.
Oh yeah,
background
yeah,
in
okay,
Hell's
Daredevil,
Kitchen.
yeah, fair enough. But now he's a rich
But
lawyer.
now he's a lawyer. Now he's a fancy pants. But he was a pro bono lawyer for a long time.
I suppose Luke Cage.
Luke Cage is definitively Jessica Jones.
Eh,
I don't know her background well enough.
yeah,
Foster kid.
yeah.
No?
I mean, Superman's a farm boy.
Yeah, he would be the ultimate. Yeah, but I think he means they're in decline now.
Right,
I don't think
okay.
he necessarily
Yeah.
meant back in the day.
Mhm.
I think probably working class superheroes were probably a lot more common back in the day. It was a normal person kind of taking back the law into their own hands,
Like who?
kind of thing. Oh, this is going to be tough. The Phantom. He was rich, wasn't he? Was the Phantom rich?
The Ghost Who Walks?
The Ghost Who Walks. Billy Zane.
Out of the jungle.
Oh, man.
Defenders of the earth.
We're definitely going to have to do a live stream or something like that at some point. Just give our reaction to these movies.
The Shadow?
I'm trying to think. The Shadow, he was one, wasn't he?
I don't
But I don't know if they were
I think
working
he was
class.
probably rich
Well, I
as
mean, okay, if you go back to genres predating superheroes, I guess you could look at hardboiled detectives.
Mhm.
And hardboiled detectives were nearly always working class.
Mhm.
It was an ordinary man who was good with his fists,
Yeah.
had a rugged face,
Yeah.
loved to drink whiskey,
Yeah, and a soft spot for a dame.
and a soft spot for a dame. Real weak chin for dames.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you could look at it that way.
Okay.
But he was
Kingsman.
he was talking about Kingsman has Eggsy.
Yeah.
Eggsy, who is the working class
Yeah.
thing, and I think, but you see, that's kind of interesting. If you tie that in with Phil Mills thing, Mark Miller created Kingsman as a parody, as a parody of James Bond and that elite upper class quip crap.
Yeah, you're right.
And Eggsy is a direct kind of middle finger to that whole genre. Probably with a classy wank symbol
symbol,
thrown
yeah.
in. Oi oi. Little one of them. Well, I'll put that in the video. But yeah, so that kind of shows you how rare it was to see that. Even then, in 2011, I could suffer for that. That's a possible Ben's retractions.
No, you're not categorically stating.
But Phil Mills kind of spoke about how 2000 AD was. Did I do it again?
Yeah!
God,
That's amazing!
I have such a complex now. You've given me a complex.
Look, just remember it there. We'll listen back to it
Oh
after.
man, I can't wait.
43.
4340. That's insane.
Yeah, go on.
But he kind of wrote that as mega crime.
Yeah.
And what 2000 AD really is oh god. What his comic really is, I'm going to swap to Judge Dredd.
Just say
Judge
Judge
Dredd
Dredd,
is
yeah.
a prime character in that particular universe.
Yeah.
That comic, by the way, is very similar to Marvel or DC in that it's the universe that these characters inhabit.
Do they all inhabit the same universe?
A lot of them do, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Not all of them, but a lot of them inhabit the same city. They're mega cities built on poverty, human overpopulation. It's basically Margaret Thatcher's nightmare. He created these huge cities where it was Margaret Thatcher's nightmare, and the only
Margaret
way...
Thatcher's nightmare, or a nightmare brought on by Margaret Thatcher?
A little bit of both.
Because Margaret
I think.
Thatcher's nightmare would probably be the Falklands belonging to Argentina. Whoa!
Apparently Mick only does political if it's very out of date. Yeah, fair enough. But so basically I suppose it's her nightmare in that she built these giant tower blocks to house these people in, and then what happened was rampant crime throughout the tower blocks, because the tower blocks were terrible social structures that didn't really do a lot to help people. And so the only way to police this new dystopian future is the judges. And the judges are judge, jury, and executioner. They are literally no due process.
Yeah.
No, that's another anti-hero we could have used. God damn it. No due process. Basically, they assess on site whether or not what the punishment should be. It is rarely arrest or detain.
Yeah,
it is usually execute. And they go about doing this, and the main judge that is followed around is Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
Who's a real dick.
Sylvester
Stallone or Carl Urban, depending on which one you prefer.
Urban.
Is that Urban? Urban?
I don't know.
Urban. Anyway, Carl
Yeah.
is the judge in the movie, in the new one, newer one.
And possibly a new series.
Are they going to...
It's in talks.
Okay, that'll be interesting. I look forward to that. I really enjoyed that movie. Good little movie. But yeah, basically it was really interesting. He is kind of, I suppose, a working class criminal's nightmare. He just comes in and tears things apart. But he would use these stories to tell or to look at law and order in kind of and morally dissect it. I mean, what is justified and what isn't justified. And this continued throughout the 2000. Did I give it an extra? AD.
Yeah, you're alright.
Universe. I don't have to go so slow from now on. And I just found it really interesting that he looked at this lack of working class heroes, and then I started looking into what he meant. He tells a story about how in the BBC back in the day, if you pitched a working class character, your script editor or your overseer,
overlord.
I didn't want to say overlord.
They are British.
They are
fine.
Very out of date swipe.
Yeah.
Would basically say no working class
really?
captains or things like they would avoid working class characters.
But what about Sean Bean?
Especially in this is in the this would have been in the 80s. Pre-Bean before he died in everything or was a villain in everything. Do you think he ever just looks at a contract and goes, please don't die, please don't die? No, he definitely knows that's all he's getting.
Knows, yeah.
That's all he's getting. And then I was looking at the BBC, and I found an interesting parallel for that in Doctor Who.
Doctor Who?
Doctor Who is very much a working class story. I find it very interesting.
Is it?
In that all of his companions, up until very recently, have been extremely average English people.
Right.
No airs or graces in quite a lot of
teachers,
things. Teachers,
strippers,
nurses.
Sorry, kissograms.
Nurses. No sex workers that I'm aware of.
Rory.
Oh God, Rory.
Sorry.
Rory was all right.
Rip Hunter.
Rip Hunter.
He's Rip Hunter in Legends of Tomorrow.
He's not.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah. It's alright. It's fine.
It's alright. Yeah, I don't like those CW things. You know I don't like them. But they tell the Doctor's story through the lens of his companion. His companion is usually a working class figure, for lack of a better name. It rebooted with Rose Tyler, who lived in a council estate with her fella Mickey, and a lot of the humour was derived from her being perfectly average about these big epic space situations.
Yeah.
But the Doctor was rebooted as someone from the north.
Yeah,
of England. Every planet has a north.
Every planet.
So it's kind of interesting, and this has continued until very recently, where they had Clara Oswald, who was and she was extremely upper class, if not upper class, then upper middle class.
Yeah, middle class,
and she was quite disliked.
Was she?
Yeah, there was a real toss Clara attitude among some hardcore Whovians.
I'd toss her all right.
Oh, stop that, Michael.
Well, I wouldn't, because I'm in a committed relationship with someone who listens to the podcast.
God, Michael.
But, I mean...
God almighty.
I'm doing a wink.
We tried to have a nice discussion about class mobility.
We weren't talking about class mobility.
You just come in with your lad banter and your lager.
My lad banter. I've never been accused of lad banter before. That's great.
The first time for everything. But anyway... I find it very interesting that a lot of, and there has been his latest one was, I can't remember her name, but again, almost mockably working class.
Bob?
They went back. I think is it Bob?
It's a kind of boyish name, isn't it?
It's a boyish. Yeah, it's a lad.
Bill.
Bill. That's it. But she's an absolute leap in the opposite direction of Clara. It's straight back to working class. She meets him at university. She doesn't go to the university. She works in the canteen.
Yeah.
And again, she has this thing. She ticks all the benchmarks for
She's a lesbian.
politically correct. She's a lesbian. She's ethnically ambiguous. She is working class. And she's, again, salt of the earth kind of character, just playing that role very, very hard. And again, her popularity went up, but she's only lasted one season. She's not interested in continuing. But
like Christopher Eccleston.
in a very strange twist, the BBC have come out and said that they will be keeping the Doctor's companion non-white.
Oh.
I don't know if you saw this.
No.
But they actively said we will not be seeking we won't be seeking a white person
Not more
to fill the role. Which I found ridiculous. I was like, wow. So they were just like, yeah, no, we're ticking the box.
No
Don't
more
worry.
whiteys.
Don't worry. Nobody tweet. We're ticking the box. It was interesting. So I don't know. But in terms of certain heroes and certain things, a lot of working class people are linked to that show, and there's a big fan base in England based on that Doctor Who. But it was interesting to me. Anyway, sorry. You were very well structured today. I was not.
No, that was alright.
Very rambling.
It was pretty decent. About 4 minutes left. Did you enjoy Kingsman?
Kingsman. I enjoyed it initially.
Yeah.
I've been ruminating on it since.
You enjoyed it in Italy?
Yes, in Italy.
You were off in Italy?
I was off in Italy. And I enjoyed the film.
What have you been ruminating on?
Well, the fact that I couldn't
Oh,
understand
spoilers!
Italian.
Spoilers!
I couldn't understand Italian. It was
Very
quite
good.
difficult to watch it.
Very good.
I really, really enjoyed. Well, I don't want to go into major spoilers
Don't
in
go
case
into
anyone
spoilers too much.
It's very, very recent. I enjoyed it. It's good fun. It's missing something that the first one had.
The lady with the sword legs.
Gazelle.
Is that her name?
That's her name. She's not in it.
No.
Neither is Samuel L. Jackson in Lisp.
Yeah, no Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, those two are missing. It kind of
It does
follows
have
all.
Bionic Commando.
It does. It kind of follows all the same beats as the first one, which is not a bad thing. But it kind of exaggerates the beats of the first one.
That's often what a sequel does, isn't it?
I know, but it did it poorly, and I was kind of when I thought about it, I really enjoyed some parts of it. Lot of pointless mortality in that film.
Yeah, a lot of people dying for no good reason.
For no good goddamn reason.
Yeah. Like in a real war.
Oh,
look, it's all thematic, isn't it? No, I agree.
You're working angles.
Look, it's good.
It's not as good as the first one.
Not as good as the first one, but it's still good.
I expected more from Matthew Vaughn, although he did do Kick-Ass. I didn't like that.
Yeah, Matthew Vaughn, I don't know if he doesn't do sequels very well.
Different director for the... Oh, no, sorry. No, completely same director. Sorry, I take that back.
He did Kick-Ass 1 and 2, didn't he?
Yes,
and he did Kingsman.
He did.
1 and
No,
2.
he didn't do Kick-Ass 2, I think.
Didn't he?
Different. I don't think so.
Look
You
it up
keep
there.
making your
Look it
point
up for the
because
podcast.
you.
But anyway, it's a good film. It's not as good as the first one. It's still thoroughly enjoyable though, and I would see a third one.
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely on board for. No, I thought it was good. It just wasn't as good as the first one, but it's quite difficult to make it as good as the first one. No, Jeff Wadlow for Kick-Ass 2.
Oh, it wasn't Matthew Vaughn.
Jeff Wadlow.
Did Matthew Vaughn have anything to do with it?
He was, I'm assuming, the producer, but I could be wrong on that one.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Is Marv Films his company?
Marv Films is Robert Rodriguez, isn't it?
Is it?
Isn't it?
Marv is a British production company owned by Matthew Vaughn.
Oh.
It's his.
Oh.
It's done Layer Cake, Stardust, Kick-Ass, and Kingsman: The Secret Service.
2 of those are good.
Layer Cake and Kingsman?
And Kick-Ass.
3 of those are good. I like Layer Cake.
And the other one. And Stardust. They're actually all
What's
good.
Stardust?
The one
The
with
Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman with the girl who's the Stardust.
And Daredevil.
Yes. And
Charlie Cox.
And what's her face? It's her, isn't it?
Claire Danes.
Yeah. from.
Where is this coming from? What part of my memory has been taken up by
don't
information?
know.
That's terrible. What a waste of a mind.
Shall we wrap it up?
Shall we wrap it up? I think we'll come into we'll go on about Kingsman another time.
Yeah.
I'd like to dissect that one a little bit more. But
Sure.
yeah, that's all from us. What do you think is kind of interesting? What superheroes speak to you? Let us know in the comments below. We never get comments, but we like some.
We do. Well, we sometimes
We get tweets.
Tweets.
Get plenty of tweets
Or Facebook messages
from punsmen, wordsmiths.
Hold on a minute.
Oh,
I have something I heard on the radio today, and I think it's gonna. I didn't hear it in this context, but I think it's a good way that we're going to finish up the podcast.
Fair enough.
Because I heard it and it was so Irish. It was a woman. She radioed in. She texted in, I suppose, and she asked the presenter on the radio program to tell her kids that when it gets to 10 o'clock, straight to bed, no messing. That was the most Irish thing I've ever heard in my entire life. So that's how we're going to finish up every podcast from now on. Alright guys, straight to bed, no messing.